What you're about to watch is jaw-dropping. A Trump nominee refusing to say he opposes laws that would let only white people vote. Senator Chris Murphy gave him every opportunity to clarify, and he still wouldn't take it. This isn't a gaffe. It's a window into how some people in power viewed democracy itself.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Bazell, I wanted to give you a second chance to answer a question that Senator Van Hollen put to you. I don't want to litigate the specific question of the persecution of the Afrikaner people. That's a policy that the administration has announced that I understand you will support. But Senator Van Hollen asked you a really simple question, like a layup question, and it is concerning to me that you couldn't give an easy, straight answer. He asked you, should we have a race-based refugee admissions policy as a nation? In other words, do you support having a refugee admissions policy that admits white refugees only? So let me ask you that question again. I don't want to get into the specifics of the Afrikaner issue. Do you support having a refugee admissions policy in this country that only admits white refugees?
Senator, I don't make that policy.
Well, but it's really important. But I think this is if I were to ask this question of virtually any nominee to be an ambassador prior to this panel, that would be an easy layup answer. No, of course we don't support having a refugee policy where we only admit white people. So why can't you give me your personal view on that?
Because, Senator, I am here to serve America and to do what the president is asking me to do. I'll be following the executive order of February.
Would you support reinstituting laws in this country to only allow white people to vote?
Senator, I'm going to serve as ambassador to South Africa, and I'm going to focus on that.
You will not share your personal views on whether it is right or wrong to reinstitute discriminatory policies in this country to prevent black people from voting?
Senator, my personal views are irrelevant. I am serving here to do what the president is asking me to do in South Africa.
Well, that's just simply not true. The whole reason that you're appearing before this committee is because your personal views, your history is absolutely relevant to your fitness to serve. We wouldn't have this process if your personal views were not relevant. That is pretty stunning that you will not share your views not only on whether we should have a refugee admissions process that is race-based, but you won't share your personal views on whether we should reimpose discriminatory treatment against black Americans. That is absolutely relevant to your qualifications to serve, and your refusal to answer it, I hope, is something that every member of this committee will think about. Mr. Ghalib, I don't think you are qualified to serve in this role, and I think that you have dug your hole deeper today. In response to Senator McCormick's pretty simple question, you refused to support maintaining Israel as a home for the Jewish people. I just don't know how we send an ambassador to the Middle East that doesn't support protecting Israel as a home for the Jewish people. I also just want to make sure that you're being, well, I mean, Senator McCormick asked, you can answer it again, but Senator McCormick asked you that question 3 different times, and you had ample opportunity to state that you believe that Israel should be protected as a home for the Jewish people.
Can I clarify that now?
I mean, I think it's pretty important to understand your views on this. Pretty stunning that you weren't able to answer that question 3 times when asked by Senator McCormick.
Well, I supported the president's plan, which means that there would be a solution.
It doesn't matter to me whether you support the president's plan. Again, this idea that your personal views don't matter is ridiculous. Do you believe that Israel should be protected as a home for the Jewish people?
I believe that, and I believe it can be a home for the Jewish and the Arabs and the Muslims and the Christian as well. And that's why it's a diverse land for the 3 major religions. I think they can coexist, all the nations in the Middle East, based on the peace plan of President Trump that I support strongly.
I just want to ask you to present something to the committee. You've been asked questions today about your refusal to condemn this outrageous statement by a member of your city government. The statement, again, is the Holocaust was God's advanced punishment of the chosen people for the savagery that they've committed against the innocent Palestinian children and civilians. You were asked to comment on this. You refused to comment on it. I think that's disqualifying in and of itself. But in earlier questioning, you said that you did condemn it at the time. We have seen no evidence of that.
Senator,
so is there evidence that you condemned that at the time?
I did told the media that I don't agree with them and I condemn. They were concerned about disciplining.
And there's evidence of that. You could present this committee with those media reports?
I would, and I say it now, let me be clear. I condemn that and I disagree with them. Their concerns was to why didn't I fire him? He's a volunteer in the planning commission.
I'm simply asking you, we have not seen any evidence that you publicly condemned that post. If you have claimed that you did in a public way.
I did disagree
I'm simply
with him.
asking you to submit that information for the record because we have not seen that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Murphy. Senator Kane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
That exchange wasn't just awkward, it was revealing. When a nominee for a U.S. ambassadorship can't bring himself to say, on the record, that race-based voting laws are wrong, that's not neutrality. That's moral collapse dressed up as diplomatic restraint. Murphy's point was simple. This isn't about policy, it's about principle. If you can't say white-only voting is wrong, if you can't affirm basic human equality, what business do you have representing America abroad? Especially in South Africa, a country that fought tooth and nail to overcome apartheid. This hearing exposed something bigger than one nominee's discomfort. It showed how the Trump era normalized moral evasiveness, where loyalty to the president outweighs loyalty to truth or justice. The refusal to answer wasn't ignorance, it was calculation. He didn't want to offend the political forces that got him there. Murphy's frustration was justified. He wasn't grandstanding, he was holding up a mirror, asking America whether we're still capable of calling racism what it is. Because when officials refuse to condemn racial discrimination, it's not silence, it's consent. That's why hearings like this matter. They force clarity where ambiguity becomes dangerous. And they remind us that democracy doesn't just die from bad laws, it dies from people too afraid to say what's right. If you found this exchange as alarming as we did, don't just scroll past. Subscribe to Left Lens. Here, we break down the moments others glance over, the ones that tell you who's really shaping the future of power in Washington.